Right, so I can't be the only one, right? Who reads a card like this and goes, "What's the true intention?" Right? So, Gauntlets of Boreal Domain. Once per turn action, pay 2. If an Earth card or an Ice card was pitched for this, it gets X effect. But the key thing to zero in here for me is your attacks, right? Attacks, plural. So it is an ongoing effect that can buff as many Mangles as you can play in a turn. But that's not really a Guardian thing, right? To play a whole bunch of Mangles. Unless it is. So yeah, why don't we see how comfortably we can string Mangles together. So we'll go through the setups, right? Nice and simple. The most powerful intention of just getting off one Mangle is pitch for the Gauntlets of Boreal Domain with, hopefully an Ice Earth card. 3 pitch, right? So you float one and then you Mangle with one other blue. So 3 cards in hand, gets your Mangle with Dominate and for 10. Fairly decent start, but now what if we try and throw a second Mangle in there? Okay, so now we're up to 2 Mangles, but we already hit a snag, right? Because not only does Mangle not have Go Again, so we need some way of generating an action point. In this case, we're using Lead the Charge. We also have the fact that it's a 4-cost card, so our cost for the turn is already huge, right? So we need 4, 4, and 2 in order to play just 2 Mangles, and, at most in a normal class construct deck, we're probably aiming for 3, so we're not finished, but nonetheless, what can we do? Well, we can crank the Amulet of Ignition first to get a -1 off an ability, which will be the Gauntlets, right? So then we can do Gauntlets with Combo to Eternity, get both the buffs, and then float 2 resources. We can then crack our Spring Tunic and our Angie Pot, putting us to 5 resources, and then thanks to the Titanium Bubble, that's the 8 we need for the 2 Mangles, so we just need the action point, Lead the Charge comes in handy, and we get 2 Mangles back to back. So we're getting better value out of our Gauntlets of Boreal Domain, but this, although, again, not the most extreme setup, right? We just need Angie Pot on board, Amulet of Ignition on board, and 5 cards, so 1 card in Arsenal, 4 in hand. It's still quite the challenge, right? Stringing together 2 Mangles, that you're probably not going to see it being done in-game, and there's probably easier attack actions too to string together with Guardian, but nonetheless, we really want to see how far we can stretch the value of these Gauntlets. Now, when it comes to 3, this is probably what LSS might have had in mind, right? That, or they planned around Art of War, right? Because Art of War, at the time of the Jarl's development, was preemptively banned, right? Because it was going to be banned a little bit later, and then they moved it up, and yada yada yada. I could see them factoring Art of War into chain together Mangles, but yeah, the math here does line up beautifully. So if we do Amulet of Ignition again into our Gauntlets of Boreal Domain, we can float the most resources out of our Crumble to Eternity, or our Ice Earth card, right? So then from there, we can crack the Tunic once again, our 3 Energy Pots, 1, 2, and 3, as well as our 2 Time Snap Potions. I was going to say Snime Snap Potions. Anyway, our 2 Snap, I was going to do it again. We have our 3 action points, which means we can play all 3 Mangles. We have 9 resources floating, plus the Titanium Bubble, so it's all beautiful, right? Symmetrical. We can play all 3, but again, we've jumped through a number of hoops, setting up 2 Time Snap Potions, 3 Energy Pots, an Amulet of Ignition, having our Spring Tunic up, and then also having our 5-card hand maintained going into our turn, all to push 3 sets of 10 damage with Dominate, right? Bang for your buck, that's not that impressive, right, for the hoops that you actually have to jump through, but still, it is something you can try for and partially accomplish, right? Given enough time installing. But I think we can make it a little bit better, right? Push a bit more damage and maybe actually try to mangle your opponent to death. Yeah, we'll see. Okay, so I've done my thing, made it insanely more complex, right? For a little bit more bang for our buck. Let's, fingers crossed, I don't mess it up. So, we need to stack some intellect first, because I definitely need some extra cards to set up. So we have Stamp of Authority with Mage Master Boots, so we can get that 2 extra intellect, right? We do have to have 2 or more cards in our pitch zone with 3 or greater in order to actually get the intellect. So what we have to do first is go Mage Master, to pitch a card, put the first one into our pitch zone. Then with the floating resources, we can go Stamp, have to pitch another card, and we'll have 2 in our zone to gain the intellect buff, right? Hopefully. I wonder if anyone's ever played this on Teleshare. And then we can do the other one as well, but hopefully that should be 6 intellect, right? So a 6 intellect hand to end. Let's see. Bottom, bottom, and bottom, and 6 cards. Beautiful. Cool. So then we have Earthlord Bounty with Sift to generate us some juicy Seismic Surge tokens to make sure we can combine those Mangles, right? So pass, pass, and then what we will end up doing is go Sift, chuck away 4 cards, right? This doesn't shuffle, which is what we really want. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, and 4. Submit, and that'll get us our 4 Seismic Surge. We can then chuck out 2 Channel Mount Heroics using our Earth Form so that we have the upkeep cost for them. And 1 more, so that will get us a sizable buff to our 3 Mangles. And then we can just lastly stick a Mischievous Meeps into our arsenal, and we should be primed to try and have a nice, much bigger actual Mangle OTK turn, right? So we'll take our Tusk. Then I do have to always remember the ordering because of Amulet of Ignition, but since we do have a gold token, I can do it a lot easier, because I can just go Amulet of Ignition, let it resolve, gold token with the discount, beautiful, titanium bubble into another titanium bubble, so I don't have to worry about much. We still have 4 cards in hand, which is what we need for the Amulets of Assertiveness. So then, with our floating resources, we can go Mischievous Meeps, which hopefully would land, right? We're against a dummy, so we'll say it land. Otherwise, we could probably just slot in any other 0-cost go again, right? Because the main reason we're using Mischievous Meeps is so that we can Assertiveness the Mangles. So they should be the 3 cards on top of our deck. And that way we have a 7-card hand, so we can continue to buff them a little bit more, right? So land our 8-power Mangle. We will break the chain because we want to play Fulminates now. Yeah, so we want to continue with the buffs. So we'll break it so I can see the board. But I believe at this point it is just crank everything. So we go 3 energy pots. No, that is the wrong thing to do, because then we can't pitch for the Gauntlet. So you do Gauntlets first, pitch the Crumble to Eternity. Nope, that's also wrong, because actually, I have Autumn's Touch as one of the pitchables, so it's fine, right? We good? Yeah, because that's Earth, that's for the Fulminate. Yeah, so I can do Gauntlets, then we can do Crumble to Eternity, get both buffs off the Gauntlets, then we can do Fulminate, and I did screw it up. No, did I? No, I'm fine. Yeah, because we only have to pitch one other. So then we do Fulminate, pitch the Titanium Bubble, reveal the Autumn's Touch, get the 2 Fulminate bonuses, right? Which we can see now, right? I've zoomed out a bit more. And then we can go Energy Pots, Energy Pots, Energy Pots, Time Snap, Time Snap. First Mangle is free because we have the 4 Seismic Surge tokens, and then we should be fine, right? Because we have 1 more pitchable, so we actually have extra resources. 3, 4, and 4. Yeah, so we have 2 extra resources. There's probably something I could do with that, but nonetheless, was it worth it? Not really, no, right? Mangle for 22. I mean, that's 22 would dominate over 3 cards. That's okay. Yeah. Yeah, that would definitely OTK your opponent. So Mangle 1, Mangle 2, and Mangle 3 for maximum effect of our gauntlets of Boreal Domain, right? So a nice, what would that be? 66 plus 8, right? Yeah, did I do the math right? So 74 damage on a turn. It's on the low end of our combos, but we mangled. Hope you enjoyed. So yeah.